We are. Another Friday coffee rip.
I don't even have coffee.
Oh man.
I'm
That's
in.
I don't know how you're doing it.
Wow, the lag just started really bad.
Is it still bad? Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Um, I'm in a hotel and I have like shitty hotel coffee, and I didn't have time to run out and grab like a coffee shop coffee, so I had one cup of that and now I'm drinking water.
Yeah. Shitty hotel coffee is not the best. We used to travel a lot for club lacrosse in college, and we used to have we used to rate like the shitty hotel breakfast. It was like the thing we would do in the caravan back to school. A lot of suspicious sausage at the hotels in the Midwest, freaks. Wouldn't trust it.
And I got another soundboard clip.
Oh, I have a soundboard. Oh no, you didn't soundboard clip that, did you?
What, the most recent one that you
Yeah.
just said?
No, the one where it sounded
Oh, I
like
have it downloaded. It's not on my soundboard yet.
yeah. Whoever clipped that.
It's been a busy, productive week, Marty. It's been a busy, productive week. I mean, you know it. You've been productive with me.
Yeah, it was a great week. Thank you, thank you all for joining us on Friday instead of Thursday. I know we've had
Yeah.
to do this a couple times in the last few weeks. Throwing you guys off schedule. As somebody with young children who really understands the importance of schedules, I thank you freaks for bearing with us as we fuck with the schedule a little bit here the last month.
Yeah, I mean, every week, man. Every week for 4 years.
You
There's
were
going to
tell
be a little movement.
you were telling me this week RHRs. It's like we never get a vacation.
Yeah, it's the single. We do a lot of things in the Bitcoin space. It's the single most mentally exhausting thing we do, in my opinion.
Yeah.
It's also one of the most rewarding, but um, just not being able to, tune out for a week for
Yeah.
4 years.
Should we work that
Yeah,
into the schedule? I mean, the no agenda guys, they do that thing in early April where they take a week off and they just run clips.
maybe. I'm considering it. We don't want to burn the fuck out.
No, we don't. But the world needs us right now.
We could also do like like there could be a week where like we just check in and we just don't talk about Bitcoin. Just to keep the streak alive, but like, oh, we haven't been paying attention at all to anything that's going on in the world of Bitcoin, so we're just going to talk about
Sports ball.
yeah, some
We'll talk
I don't
about
like this idea.
the concussion policy in the NFL.
It's not RHR if me and Marty aren't both on it.
No. All right, let's jump into it.
We want to talk about mentally exhausting. Like, I came to a conclusion like last year that a bunch of the things that we warn about all the time we're just going to see happen, and no one's going to do anything until everyone gets burned, and then everyone's going to act shocked when it happens. And I thought I was at peace with it, but when I saw that Celcius dump last night, I just was broken. I just don't. I just I just had nothing to say. I had nothing to say. I had nothing. I just I was just empty inside when I saw it. It just broke me.
I mean, that's the main topic today. 14,000 pages of everybody's balance, their address, where they sent
Not
to.
it wasn't their addresses. People have gotten that wrong.
Oh,
It
yeah.
was it was everything short of their withdrawal addresses, but it had transaction amounts and times. So like you could have like a simple script that if you take the exact amount and you take the time, you just search the chain data and then you can get the addresses. But for to be completely clear, the exact address of withdrawals wasn't listed. But at the end of the day, the result is Celcius is going through bankruptcy. All Celcius users uh, trading history, and their on-chain wallets that they either withdrew or deposited from are connected to their legal names and government identity.
So this is what I mean, this news dropped yesterday. I was traveling all day yesterday and had just time to
sleep.
Yeah, I had like very little time to skim it, but who's at fault here? The court or Celcius? Did Celcius have to give up all this data?
First, governments are at fault for forcing services to collect KYC, AML, personal information. Second, operators of businesses in this industry are at fault for not pushing back more on that. Third of all, Celcius is at fault for going bankrupt and being in a bankruptcy proceeding. And then what number am I
Fourth.
at?
You're on
5.
four. You're on 4.
And then fourth of all, the judge refused to let them redact this information because this is supposedly standard in bankruptcy proceedings. So Celcius, I don't like giving Celcius any kind of credit, but they supposedly tried to stop this from getting released. And then on top of all of that, obviously Celcius was a shitcoin casino. Like they had everything there, including Bitcoin. So this aspect of Tornado Cash getting criminalized, and we've already seen in the past CoinJoin collaborative transactions getting flagged and accounts getting locked because of people using that amplifies all this risk, right? Because when you withdraw or deposit, if you're not able to use on-chain privacy tools, then you're more exposed in these situations.
Yeah.
But Bitcoiners out there that are like grandstanding because they never use Celcius, like we never use Celcius. Like you still like if you're Bitcoin only, this doesn't fix this. Like this could just as easily be, a Swan KYC leak or a Strike KYC leak or
Cash
or
App,
a river KYC. And this is not even a leak. This is just a straight dump, by the way. Some people are calling it a leak. Like it was
handed over.
Yeah.
By the company who had the data. Yeah, I mean, this is when because that was we were off site this week together, and that was like one of the big topics was privacy as a human right. And KYC AML is intruding on human rights, and how do we push back against that as an industry? What do we need to do? What can we do? Is it speaking up more? Is it people working at exchanges and other third-party custodians stepping up and saying, "Hey, on behalf of our users, like we're gonna put our necks out there and say we don't like this, we don't want to do this."
Well, I know you don't agree with all of their tactics, their strategies, and I don't either. But this is one of the reasons why, even as a person that has completely lost faith in our government and completely lost faith in our policymakers, I'm proud of the boys at the Bitcoin Policy Institute because they're the first organization that I know of that is actually trying to push back on KYC AML policies and is pushing forward on Bitcoin privacy best practices and privacy tools. So, I don't expect perfection from anybody. I know I'm not perfect, but at least we finally have an org that's doing that. And at the very least, I'd like to see some industry participation. Like if you're an American Bitcoin business owner and you have to comply with KYC AML regs, like you should be supporting those guys so that they could at least, fight on your behalf if you're not going to fight yourself. But it's a combination, right? It's like I would like to see better policy. I have no expectations of any kind of benefits there. I just expect KYC AML policy to get worse and worse and worse. And then we should also have tools that allow you to route around that stuff. And that starts with these, no KYC P2P exchanges like RoboSats and Peach and HodlHodl and Bisq. And then it also continues with on-chain privacy tools and Bitcoin privacy tools to make it easier to use Bitcoin privately. So it's really like it should be a two-pronged effort. It should be regulated businesses in the space pushing back against this stuff, and tools being built that allow you to opt out of that captured system in the first place.
Yeah. Something has to give.
So we have like Diogenes in the comments saying we can barely get people to run full nodes. Asking them to care about KYC AML is a big ask. LOL. I added he put the LOL in there. I don't really think it's a laughing matter, but I agree. And the unfortunate reality is, I think people are just going to keep getting burned until they care. And I mean, if you're a Celcius user right now, you don't need to be explained. No one needs to tell you why it's a risk. Like you just fucking learn the hard way, and the learning's going to happen even more. Yeah, I don't know.
So it's 14,000 pages of disclosure. How many individual users were exposed to this? Tens of
And then
thousands.
BTC Pen said apathy doesn't mean we shouldn't fight it. Yeah, exactly. Like even if you don't need the majority. Like just any even one person caring is worth it talking about. I don't know how many users. Too many.
Yeah, again, privacy is a human right. Like the fact that
if anyone in the comments knows how many users, let us know. Jevy, find out for us.
Jevy, go start counting. Get back to us by the end of the episode. But yeah, again, like you, we were talking about this before. We came on air just like completely deflated. It's like, what the fuck? How many times do we have to see this before the government wakes up? Because people, again, I mean, it feels like we're beating a dead horse and speaking into the abyss with no real action being followed up with it. But like, people are going to be put in harm's way. You have their physical addresses, how much they owned. Just putting big targets on these people's back that are going to put them in physical danger in meat space. And again, any of the freaks listening to this know that we advocate
go on.
Acquiring Bitcoin in a no KYC AML fashion to the best of your abilities. And obviously, a lot of the peer-to-peer exchanges are not as liquid as many people would like them to be to get as many sats as possible. And that's why I truly do believe, and I think we're evidence of it here at Rabbit Hole Recap and TFTC, like the best way to get non-KYC AML sats is to earn them.
And mining.
Which
is, I guess.
Yeah.
Just to be clear, you said physical addresses. Physical addresses are not in this dump. But
no? I thought they were.
Physical addresses are connected to these names and stuff in other dumps, and they can be
cross-reference. I thought there was addresses involved.
I don't think there's physical addresses in this dump.
Yeah. What's it say, Logan? Pull that up.
Includes names, trading history, transaction times, and amounts.
Oh. Yeah. So bounties are out there. You just need to find all the other data.
Jevy's saying 3 months ago, Celcius had 1.8 million users, 500,000 active. Over 170,000 were over $1. Were rewards over $1. I don't know what that means. It was a lot of fucking people. Yeah. It's probably the biggest single. Probably this. I don't know. Maybe the Binance leak was more.
Yeah, the Binance had pictures of people.
The Binance one was like, it was a hack, and it was hard. It was harder to get a hold of the information. Like this one, like, is just like on the internet for anyone to download easily. I don't know.
Yeah, everybody can go download this court document. Thank you. The state is here to keep you safe. Make sure you say hi to your FBI agent. Hi, let's talk to the RHR FBI agent. I hope you're liking the show. I hope you're proud of the work that you're doing, of the intelligence apparatus that you're a part of.
Hopefully some policymakers are in that list.
That would be somebody dive into that. That would be interesting to find.
Maybe that'll teach them to care about it.
Put their feet to the fire.
It's so frustrating, Marty. It's so frustrating, freaks.
It's very frustrating. FBI agent listening in, I hope you understand our frustrations.
Did you see what BGC Pins wrote? FBI, please like and subscribe.
Please like, subscribe. Set your notification bell too, so you don't miss any of this. I hope you're streaming sats at least. Maybe that's the FBI entrapment. They're just participating in the value for value model to be like, hey, they're acquiring no KYC AML sats. I can prove it because I sent them to them. Assholes.
Well, I mean, it's important to realize there's no laws against. There's no laws against acquiring no KYC.
No, we report our income to the IRS. So
I don't even like the term no KYC because it implies that it's different than the default.
Yeah, that's it.
Like it really should be like Bitcoin and then surveilled Bitcoin or something like that.
Yeah.
Like the KYC Bitcoin should be KYC Bitcoin services should be the separate term. Yeah. Like they've already won that narrative battle. We've completely lost that narrative battle. Now it's just I think it's like almost too late to change that, but I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, because in terms of like receiving it as income.
Like by default, Bitcoin is no KYC.
Yes.
Right.
I mean, by default, the protocol has no idea that us stupid monkeys have thrown these data attachments to the UTXOs that are being processed by full nodes. It just knows the UTXO set transactions that are happening. Has no idea that we've erected this surveillance apparatus. It's not directly connected to Bitcoin, but exists on top of it as a second layer in insecure databases around the world.
Well, anyway, freaks, be aware that this happened. Let's learn from it. Try and learn Bitcoin privacy best practices. Improve your knowledge. Consider, learning about alternative ways to acquire Bitcoin. And a good website is nokyconly.com. That lists a bunch of resources there. I did a episode on Dispatch with Bitcoin Q&A, episode 43, Citadel Dispatch. That's titled Bitcoin for Beginners, but it is applicable to everyone. And we include a whole portion on KYC there. We go through all the steps with privacy in mind. And I don't know, try and help educate your friends and family too. Because that's always the best way.
Yes, it is. Be aware.
And also when you like onboard someone, we've talked about this in the past. When you onboard someone, don't just like send them a fucking Swan Bitcoin ref link. Like don't just like throw them to the wolves of KYC. Like give them their first sats. Tell them, have them either have them like buy you dinner. You don't have to give them to them for free. Have them buy you dinner and then pay them back in sats, or have them give you $20 in cash and pay them, $20 worth of Bitcoin to a self-custody mobile wallet. Like let them get their first taste of Bitcoin without all the regulated bullshit on top of it. Yeah. Then if they want to make an educated decision and go into one of these services, so be it. But don't just like throw them into the fucking fire.
I did this yesterday.
You threw something into the fire?
No, I didn't throw them to the fire. I onboarded them in a way which you would be proud at the airport restaurant before I hopped on my flight. We got there a bit early, so got something to eat, had a coffee, and I tipped the waitress using a Sats card.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. She was not happy about it, but I told her She'll be happy about it later. Just don't lose the Sats card. All right, let's get to Clark's dashboard. On a lighter note, if you can see on the block clock behind me, we're 220 blocks away from a palindrome block. So at some point between Saturday and Sunday, we can have another.
I love how you just like try. You like really want that to be a thing.
It's my thing. I don't care if anybody else likes it. I just like it. I'm fascinated by palindrome blocks.
Is it a palindrome if it's a number? Are palindromes only words, or
it can be numbers too?
Okay.
We are, according to Clark's dashboard, we're actually 219 blocks away. We're at block height 757, 538. My block clock changed a block ago. The price of Bitcoin is 19,646 cuck bucks. One cuck buck's going to get you 5,090 sats. We are currently 478 blocks away from the next difficulty adjustment, which is estimated to be on Monday, October 10th. So in a few days, this is a big one. And we're like almost 75% of the way through this epoch. So this data is pretty legit. It's going to be a 12.6% upward adjustment. Block's been coming in at 8 minutes, 53 seconds on average. So this will be a new all-time high difficulty.
Number go up.
Hash rate go up significantly. There are 1,138 transactions in Clark's mempool. 1 sat per byte transactions are going through, and there are 5,579.32 Bitcoin in unspent capacity on Samurai's Whirlpool. That is 109.6 million cuck bucks of unspent value. And that's good to see. I think it might be an all-time high on RHR at least.
In Bitcoin terms.
Yes. Yeah, Whirlpool, so hot right now. I mean, we have this on the list for software updates, but foundation devices, version, what version?
2.0.4.
2.0.4 has been released in that. I think they might have added it earlier, but if you didn't know, foundation devices, the hardware wallet.
That was where they added it.
Okay, so now they've implemented Whirlpool.
It's a Whirlpool extension. So essentially, like Whirlpool has a feature that you can coin join to an XPub, and this extension automates that feature. So you can actually do this in Sparrow already without any hardware wallet integrating it. And the way Whirlpool works is if you do that feature and then you want to, so that XPub is cold, right? It's not, the XPub is hot because it's in the Whirlpool client. But the private keys are cold because it's in the hardware wallet. But if you want to make it hot in the future, then you can continue remixing for free after that point. And because it mixes straight to, because it coin joins, I don't like the term mixing, because it coin joins directly to, and the Samurai guys disagree with me with that. They always call it mixing still. Because it does a collaborative transaction directly to the hardware wallet on chain, you can't tell if that it went to, a cold storage keys. So if people that are in your rounds continue and go and remix forward, it's actually sitting in cold storage, and your anonymity set is growing over time as those participants that were in your original round continue to remix. And then if you come back later and then you remix, then you're helping your anonymity set and their anonymity set. So it's quite clever how it's set up. But yeah, these Bitcoin privacy tools are going to become more and more important. We've been saying this for a long time. I just want to see as many tools as possible, and I want to see them become easier and easier to use. It does not seem like we're ever going to get any kind of significant, default privacy guarantees on Bitcoin. So it's up to app developers to build it on top. And this is a perfect example. So let's go through this exact case study of Celcius. You're a Celcius user, God help your soul, and you withdraw your Bitcoin from Celcius. So at least you dodged the rug pull. And then you use Whirlpool or Join Market, some kind of collaborative transaction after that. Yes, you're completely doxxed on how much you bought, how much you withdrew, when you withdrew it, what address you withdrew it to, connected to your legal identity. But at least from that point forward, your on-chain transaction history, your self-custody transaction history is harder to link, much more difficult to link. If you don't do that, then all of a sudden, and you go to cold storage, then all your cold storage, like if you're not practicing privacy best practices, can all get linked to your legal identity, even if you acquired those from some other way. So like you're running a bagel shop or something, and you're receiving all this Bitcoin to the same wallet that you withdrew from Celcius to, and you're not practicing privacy best practices, you're not using coin control, you're not using collaborative transactions, then all of those other sources are also getting linked to your legal identity. So it significantly reduces the risk. I mean, you're never going to remove KYC records. I saw BTC Pin saying Bitcoin companies should wipe data all the time. Like they definitely should, if they're not a regulated service. But regulated services are basically required by law to keep this shit indefinitely, and they can't secure it properly. So you should just assume all this information will get out eventually.
Well, isn't only like 10 years they have to hold the data, which is still too long. I'm pretty sure after 10 years they can wipe it.
Yeah, but it's going to be like the Disney. It's going to be like the Disney copyrights shit. It's like 10 years from now, we're going to hit like the 8-year point, and they're going to be like, oh, well, let's add another 10 years to it. So like I think we should expect it to be indefinite. But yeah, it's something like that. It's like 10 years or something. And 10 years is a long time, even if it's only that.
Yeah.
Only. But I expect that to keep increasing, right? The length of time is going to increase, or like they'll have to hand it over to hand it over to governments, and then governments will hold it longer. And private companies can't secure the shit, but the governments can, or even worse.
Yeah, these governments who are demanding this data are the same governments that are right now pushing us towards nuclear Armageddon, per their own words. So just keep that in mind as well. They're not keeping us safe in any aspect, whether it be our data security or our physical security.
So I actually have this in different order, but I think we should go to the next thing we should cover is the European Union announced a new round of sanctions against Russian individuals and entities.
This is hilarious.
And in it, they included a ban on interacting with Russian
Bitcoin wallets.
Bitcoin wallets, and also all crypto wallets, right? So, USDC, Ethereum, Tron, Solana, Binance Chain, whatever, all of those. And there's a lot of cocky crypto bros out there that are like, oh, you can't ban this shit, like blah blah blah. Yeah, of course they can't at the protocol level. I mean, they can for like Solana and Binance Chain, and presumably potentially even Ethereum, now that they've moved to proof of stake. But they can't ban it at the protocol level with Bitcoin. But what they can do is they can take all this data that they get from all of these lists of Bitcoiners in our transaction history and the Celcius dump, and they can use that with on-chain surveillance corporations to try and figure out who is interacting with these wallets, and also figure out which wallets are controlled by Russian individuals and entities. And enforcement becomes very difficult, but the play here is basically you make an example out of a few people, and then the overwhelming majority comply, which is like that's a classic government strategy. So I wouldn't laugh this off. Oh, they don't understand Bitcoin. They think they can ban Bitcoin wallets. No, they're gonna make people's lives miserable if they catch you interacting with it, and they're gonna make an example of people, and then most people will comply. And then obviously all regulated services are gonna over comply with all this shit, and increase their chain surveillance activity, and increase their burdensome compliance policies. So this is a big step. This is a big step, and it's one of the first shots of a long attack. And the first shot was basically compelling the overwhelming majority of services in the space to implement these policies in the first place. And most Bitcoiners, there are dozens of us who are upset about it, but most newcomers that come in, they just think of it as the default. They just think that's how it is. There's a troll who's on Twitter who always says that we were KYC'd at birth, so why should we fight anything? And that kind of
defeat us, loser mentality.
That kind of mentality is very prevalent in our society today, and very prevalent in this industry.
Yeah, I mean, with this EU ban, I mean, I don't know how broad it is, but like I could imagine they'd try to be like, hey, if there's any Russian who's contributed to one of these open source wallet softwares, that wallet's banned. Like, is any Russian contributor like Blue Wallet, Moon, Electrum? Electrum's run by a couple Russians, isn't it?
I don't think that's what they mean by this. That could be their next step. But what they mean by this is not like the wallet software. What they mean is
individual
the collection of keys. I mean, Bitcoiners for a long time have said Bitcoin wallets as a term is like a
misnomer,
misrepresenting term, right? But they mean like Bitcoin addresses that are controlled and operated by Russian individuals and entities. They don't necessarily mean like an American using a open source wallet that has contributors that are Russian.
Yeah. With how crazy the world is today, though, I wouldn't be surprised if that's like the next step. And again, fuck, man. Shout out to my brother in Christ, Kanye West, who's pointing it out, and maybe he listens to the pod. The shit is demonic. These people fucking hate you. And again, these are the same governments that are pushing us towards nuclear war, pushing us towards financial calamity, pushing us further into this dystopian digital panopticon. And we just sit here, just keep taking it in the face. Like, govern me harder, daddy.
Or even worse than, I mean, I think there's obviously the people that are like, that welcome it, we get regulatory clarity or whatever. But the most common thing is, we're already fucked. Like, I'm already fucked. Why should I care about privacy? And that's the worst. That's the worst to see, because little improvements do help. Obviously, they're not perfect, but little improvements on a day-to-day basis, constantly improving your situation, not just in Bitcoin privacy. Like I've said many times, that wiretap you have in your kitchen so you can have a cooking timer powered by Amazon and Google, that little bit of convenience that you're getting out of that, and you're giving up massive amounts of privacy as a result and sovereignty as a result, has big consequences. And little improvements that people make at scale help all of us. So, improve your own setup, improve your own situation, and help others improve their situation. And hopefully we can dig out of this fucking hellhole with as little pain as possible.
Yeah.
But there will be pain. There is already pain, and there's going to continue. It's going to get worse and worse.
Yeah. No, I mean, I don't think we have this on the list, do we? Let me check.
I don't know what you're talking about.
No, we do have it on the list. Start9 version 0.3.2 has been released. Their Embassy OS. This is a pretty...
I put all the software updates on the list.
Yeah, so this is a pretty massive update for them from a UI UX perspective, and then from an efficiency standpoint as well. But like more and more people need to ditch their at-home wiretaps produced by Google and Amazon for stuff like Embassy OS, which allow you to operate within your own private network in your house.
Self-hosted for the win.
Yeah. So
you need to self-host as much as possible.
Yes.
Or at least have a friend or family member you trust host your shit.
Yeah.
Uncle Jim model.
Embassy makes that easy too.
Because I don't think most people are not going to self-host things. But the Uncle Jim model can kind of scale. And then, hopefully, self-hosting stuff is getting easier and easier. So that'll help too. Yeah. But in the near future, most will not be self-hosting. But let's see that trend continue and grow. And as people get burned, it will only increase. I mean, we focus on Bitcoin here, right? But like the Ring cameras that everyone has on their doorbells, so like I can't walk my dog without like going past like 400 surveillance cameras that are controlled by Amazon, like that kind of stuff. That's all gonna get leaked and dumped at some point. Like all that shit is going to get, like your intimate conversations that you're having with your family, like in your kitchen with the wiretap on, all that shit's going to get released. And as that happens, people are going to start to wake up. The camera you have on your baby that's connected to a fucking internet connection, that's going to get released. And then as that stuff happens, people are going to make the move to self-hosting. And even though it's less convenient, they will realize the value of that.
It is less convenient now, but the improvements that are being made are
less convenient.
Yeah,
it might be. We can make it. We can make it. The least less convenient possible. We can make it as close to the convenience as possible. But privacy and sovereignty always have an aspect of personal responsibility to them that will always be fundamentally less convenient. But the key is to make those options as fucking convenient as possible so that hurdle is as low as possible.
Yeah. Agreed. And it comes to like I think we can make this public too, like in terms of convenience, self-hosting, whether it come to your content too, if you're worried about getting censored for talking about this stuff with Embassy. DJ is working with the Embassy team to get our open source Ghost BTC Pay server integration on Embassy, so you'll be able to host your BTC Pay server and connect it to on Embassy very easily, like we do here at TFTC. So be on the lookout for that. I mean, I've been teasing it for a while. DJ is a very busy man, but we're getting close to that.
Okay, so I know.
Ouch.
I know you guys think this is like a doomer rip, but I mean, once again, like my optimism is in that people are going to get burned, and as people get burned, we will improve. So in the silver lining of all of this, doomer-ish stuff is that, ultimately we should be in a better place in the future. There is much hope. There's much hope and optimism. I want that to be clear. But did you see this Foundry and Greyscale announcement?
Yes, I did. I saw you tweeting about it.
So Foundry right now is the largest mining pool in the world. They have over 25% of hash. Most of that hash, they don't control themselves. They're controlled by independent miners that mine with them as a pool. So usually when we talk about pool centralization risk, that's always the caveat. The caveat is if a pool acts maliciously and tries to fuck around with the network and censor transactions, those miners will go and switch. Now with Foundry, it's a little bit different because a lot of their clients are regulated corporations, the big guys, the big warehouse mining types, and they're all KYC'd with Foundry. They like that it's a fully compliant KYC'd pool. So they are inherently less likely to switch, and they're also inherently, more likely to get pushed on by governments. Now, why do I bring this up? I bring this up because Foundry and Greyscale have come to a partnership on a new investment vehicle. Now, both Foundry and Greyscale are under Digital Currency Group, this massive group that owns a shit ton of companies in the space.
They led the New York agreement. Never let people forget that.
Now, they have GBTC, right? Now, they have GBTC, which is like not a real ETF that holds a lot of Bitcoin. And I've said in the past that Bitcoin ETFs and stuff like GBTC aren't as big of a threat to Bitcoin, because at the end of the day, you can always choose to self-custody yourself, and owning more Bitcoin doesn't give you more control of the protocol. And that's different with proof of stake. Like, there's going to be issues in my mind when Ethereum ETFs are also the largest validators on the network and decide what transactions get included in blocks. This is very similar, because this investment vehicle, if it gets very popular, which I expect it will among the institutional crowd, and gets more and more money put into it, will control more and more of the hash. And it's not an issue right now, but it could become an issue in the future. If through regulated investors, through fully compliant KYC investors, Foundry ends up with a shit ton of hash rate that they directly control, it could be concerning. It is concerning. It could become an issue. So people should be aware of this, and people should be thinking about this.
Yes. No, it is certainly a new risk vector that exists out there, because, like you said, historically, it's been individuals pointing their hash at these pools, and they have the ability to move in and out of these pools at a moment's notice. But if Foundry owns these machines, and so that's like where it gets hairy. Like, they're hosting these machines on behalf of clients, but you have to imagine part of the contract will be, if you're hosting with us, you have to point at our pool, at which point they can dictate block construction. With that being said, too, like Foundry.
Wait, I mean, for this deal, they're just straight up operating the hash. Like, you don't have a choice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Foundry also has said that they want to be the first to adopt Shroud V2.
Where the individual miners construct the blocks,
yeah,
rather than a pool operator. But that is like, they should be applauded for that. I love to see that from the largest mining pool that's also KYC'd. But that does not help this situation.
No. Barry making a play. Yeah,
this one's going to be, especially since they're acquiring all this cheap,
hardware.
Like, the company's going up, miners are getting squeezed left and right. There's cheap hardware everywhere. Like, in a couple of years, if they like get a shit ton of money into this investment vehicle, they can have so much hash directly operated by them, fully regulated and compliant.
Yeah, you think they just allocate some of the 2% management fees they're getting from GBTC, which makes them an insane amount of money year in and year out. They could. I mean, hypothetically, I bet they could buy most of the hardware that's out on the market right now. Barry.
I mean, we talk about incentives all the time, right? Like, these incentives are set up to do this. It's a massive money-making opportunity here. That's why I'm concerned about it, is because I expect this to be a very successful operation. Like, there's a lot of people with big pockets that want to invest in this type of vehicle.
Yeah. And out of all the Foundry like entities, I think Foundry is actually best positioned to do this, because I think they do have the team with the chops to actually execute on the hosting side of things, where others I'm not so confident in their ability to do so.
And then we don't have this on the list, but like, I see people in the comments like saying Dex this, Dex that. I just want to be absolutely clear here that if your protocol is not censorship resistant, none of that shit fucking matters if you have a quote unquote decentralized exchange. And I don't have it on the list, but Binance chain had a hack. Literally just like froze the whole fucking chain.
Oh yeah, this is
same exact thing could happen. Like, and this is a perfect example when these chains pretend, these networks, protocols pretend to be decentralized as a marketing regulatory arbitrage play, but in fact, they're not decentralized at all. And governments, are mostly made up of fucking idiots that are moving slowly here, but they're going to figure it out eventually, and they're going to put the pressure on these places. They're going to put the pressure on these centralized entities to make sure that all transactions that happen are quote unquote compliant and KYC'd and fully doxed. Like you cannot have privacy on a long enough time scale. There will be no privacy on anything that's centralized.
Yeah, I mean, not on the list as well, but I'm pretty sure Compass Ninja launched KYC on their clients, their latest contract.
They changed all the policies. What it's like, you can't cancel or something too.
Yeah.
Well, freaks, that still remains one of the largest regrets of my life, is that they were a sponsor of RHR for 4 months.
As well. Similarly,
I'm sorry to all the freaks who've gotten rugged by them. And I am not surprised, but I am extremely disappointed that so many people in the space continue to promote them.
Yeah, hands up. We greatly regret that decision. You live and you learn. You move on. Yeah, God, this KYC shit. What? I mean, we've talked about it. People just got to get rugged, but I wish there were, hopefully the BTC policy team can make some headway here, but I really do think we need some sort of social narrative movement against this.
Yeah, but they're working on that too at BTC Policy. And just to be clear here, like, if you're a pleb, do not donate to BTC Policy Institute. But if you're operating an American Bitcoin business, if you're operating an American Bitcoin business, like, the tax year is coming up to an end here. We have them on OpenSats. You can get a tax deduction. Like, go give them some funding. Like, they've been operating on an absolute shoestring budget. We gave them free office space in Bitcoin Park because they had like no money, and they've been extremely effective behind the scenes so far. So consider it.
Yes. Consider it. The war is upon us. They hate you. They don't care about your safety. They don't care about your freedom. They don't care about your ability to live right now. Again, they're pushing us towards nuclear war. We have a fucking dementia-riddled president out there saying, yeah, nuclear Armageddon's on the table. These are the people that are claiming these policies are protecting you. So
Carlos is saying any other organization pleb should avoid donating to. No, if you want to donate, feel free to donate. I'm just saying, like, I want to see, like, very large checks from these regulated services that are making bank. If I support the EFF too. You could.
EFF's cucked, dude. I don't support them anymore.
Look, it is what it is. There's no perfection. They fight some good battles. They don't get that much money from me. But you're welcome to support anything you want to support. I'm just saying that this is not like a call for donations from, and I got like a lot of like it's not a call for donations from humble sat stackers that are trying to accumulate more Bitcoin. It's mostly a call for action from the regulated services that are making fucking bank. They're making a shit ton of fucking money. And ultimately their incentives are strongly aligned with supporting this kind of thing, because their business is going to get fucking wrecked and their customers are going to get fucking wrecked. Bitcoin, most of this, except the Foundry thing, which is more, theoretical, that we're just thinking about, is not a threat to Bitcoin. It's a threat to individual Bitcoin users and Bitcoin operators of Bitcoin businesses. Because the operators of Bitcoin businesses are extremely vulnerable. And then individual Bitcoin users who are, KYC'd and fully like on lists and stuff, we're also vulnerable. But the owners, those businesses are extremely vulnerable, and they have a strong incentive to take some of the revenue they're making to support these causes. Swan this week announced that they're supporting BPI, and they're doing they have a donation code that like if you go to their conference, you can 20% of your ticket sale will go to BPI, and they also made a small donation as well directly to BPI. I want to see more of that.
I like that. Yeah, like how do you sleep at night if you're an operator? Yes, you may be making a lot of money, but at some point in the future, your customers are going to get rugged because of the data that you're holding. Just from a pure human aspect, like I would hope that there's some level of empathy and accountability that exists at these companies that compels them to begin speaking out more. Because it's the, what is it? What's it called when you self-censor? They're self-censoring themselves because they want to remain in business. Like at some point, we need people to be brave and to speak out against this because, again, it's putting, like if you're running a Bitcoin business and you truly believe in what Bitcoin represents in terms of freedom to transact in the digital age, like you're sort of contradictory with your internal policy at your business and what you believe you're striving toward. I just don't know how people live with themselves knowing that they're putting their users in harm's way.
So here's the formal call. If you're an owner operator of a Bitcoin business in America and you're considering supporting the Bitcoin Policy Institute, feel free to reach out to me if you want, to have an off the record call or something like that to discuss, or go to opensats.org and click Bitcoin Policy. We have like all the different projects there. Click the Bitcoin Policy tab or whatever, and then you can donate with Bitcoin or fiat.
Yes. Consider it.
And you get tax deduction.
Yes.
Or if you're a whale too. Or if you're a pleb. Anyone who wants to support, feel free to reach out to me. I'm happy to discuss it.
Yes. Moving on the list. Tight rip today. I'm going to wrap it up soon. Alby version 1.17.0 has been released. This just includes improvements on the LNbits integration. And they fixed the LND hub connection flow for users too, so you can connect your own node. So here's something good that's happening that will allow people to send and receive with better privacy, not perfect privacy, obviously. Make sure you're using a VPN or Tor when you're using these extensions.
Also, don't use a Bitcoin focused browser extension in your main browser because Alby can read all of your anything that's on your screen when it's enabled.
Yes.
And they have a quote unquote good reason for it, which is that they're trying to detect where you can click pay with Bitcoin, so that the convenience and ease of use is there. But just something to keep in mind.
Yes. Coldcard MK4 version 5.0.7 has been released.
This one was a massive update.
NFC enhancements, HSM
There's a full
enhancement.
NFC tools menu. There's a lot of updates to the HSM mode, which is called CK Bunker, where you have like a Coldcard plugged in via USB, and it has signing policies when it signs transactions. He added, Peter and Co. and NVK and the different contributors to that project added temporary seeds, ephemeral seeds, which is basically like you load a seed and it's only active on the Coldcard until you power off. I was talking to MVK about it. An interesting way they have it set up is, so if you have a Coldcard that's already initialized with a seed and you go to the ephemeral seed option, let's say I have this issue where I have, there's sometimes you're just like, you're cleaning up like an old drawer or something, and there's like a bunch of seeds and you just want to make sure that there's nothing in them, and then so you can actually throw them out. Or you have a friend who wants something swept or something like that. You just need to sweep a wallet. You can load the seed on, and then all of a sudden the Coldcard pretends that's its seed. And then when you power it off, the previous seed that you had on there, then it goes back to that one. So if you already have an initialized Coldcard, you can use this feature
to check seeds.
Yeah, and sweep seeds without having to remove the previous one. Because I said to MVK, I was like, why can't you just wipe your existing seed and then put a new seed and then wipe? And that's why. It's because you have the ability to keep it initialized with whatever it had before. But for that one use, switch it.
That's a pretty big feature.
Yeah.
And speaking of NFC enhancements, that's one thing too. I mentioned I gave a tip using the Sats card, which is another product by CoinKite, and that's NFC enabled. And similarly, they have the Tap Signer, which is an NFC enabled key. And I've been playing around with those more in the last couple of weeks, and I'm extremely bullish on this type of interaction with Bitcoin and with keys and bearer instruments, which the Sats card is. And yeah, I've been using it with Nunchuck because that right now that's like the only really good mobile wallet that's compatible with NFC functionality. And so it's a call to action for any other software wallets out there, mobile wallets specifically, that haven't enabled NFC. Get on it, because I think this is going to be really good for UX and optionality for users moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, so the Sats card can be thought about as like an evolution in the OpenDime. The OpenDime required a USB port. Most new computers nowadays don't have that USB-A port on them. And a lot of people are just using mobile phones only. So it's nice that basically all new mobile phones have NFC, so you can just tap the card on. The Sats card comes with a key already enabled on it. That requires trust in CoinKite that they're actually deleting the keys. But then you can also generate a new key. So if you are using it for large amounts, make sure you actually go through the process to generate a new key rather than using the default key that's on the Coldcard, on the Sats card. And I mean, that was a convenience trade-off for people that wanted a more convenient option.
Yeah, and the way Rodolfo explained it to me when we were going through it, like the way the card's actually constructed and the private keys created, it's almost impossible for them to know, he would say, but you can't. Again, it's a trust trade-off.
Not for the default key.
No?
The default key you have to trust them for. The QR code that's printed on the back of the Sats card, you have to trust them that they actually deleted the private keys.
Yeah. But it's cool.
But the trust trade-off is very good for any keys you generate. You can generate up to 9 other keys afterwards. Yeah. That trade-off is good.
Yeah.
From a security point of view. And then the first key is there for convenience because people like seeing a printed QR code that they can just scan and load.
Beware, freaks, beware. Any mobile wallet developers out there, let's get on NFC. The Tap Signer is just really cool too. I've been playing around with that on Nunchuck, and it's just, I showed my wife last night. She was like, holy crap. And she gets enough. She was like, wow, this is pretty big. Moving along, software updates. Fountain version 0.5.1 has been released. This is pretty big. If you're a podcast listener, they have Apple CarPlay, Autoplay Q, OPML import, and performance upgrades.
So OPML is the standard RSS feed import-export file format. So by adding OPML, you can just import your podcast list, your listening list from other apps very easily.
Yeah. Shout out to you freaks who are listening on Fountain. Rabbit Hole Recap. RIP 220 last week was the number one listened to episode, or number one supported episode on Fountain last week. So thank you, freaks, for contributing value there.
Yeah, we appreciate all you freaks who can continue to support the shows. If you have value for value in sats, it's fantastic. It's really empowering. And we were talking about earlier how mentally exhausting it is doing this week in and week out. That plus shout outs, plus Boostigrams, plus freaks just reaching out through the various communication channels I have listed and saying that they find the show helpful. Like that's what really keeps me going. That's what makes it all worth it. So I appreciate all of you. It really does mean a lot.
Yeah. We had 3 in the top 10 between the two of us. Rabbit Hole Recap number 1, Citadel Dispatch number 6, TFTC number 10. Love it, freaks. Thank you for supporting all of our shows. And with that in mind, mention shoutouts. We'll go to shoutouts. We have 2 this week. We're just becoming the meetup announcement podcast.
I love it. I fucking love meetups. So I also people just like tag me in their meetups because they know I retweet them. I always wonder if like people think it means I'm attending that meetup. Most of the time, it doesn't mean I'm on Twitter. It doesn't mean I'm going to the meetup. It just means they want me to retweet it. So just keep that in mind.
Keep that in mind. Also keep in mind this shout out announcing Western Australia's first ever Bitcoin Bush Bash on Saturday, October 15th in the old timber and farming town of Nannup, Nannup, 3 hours south of Perth. This free event will include talks on the history of money, the war on cash and CBDCs in Australia, regenerative farming, Bitcoin privacy best practices, running nodes, and energy use for home mining. There will be post-event brisket, barefoot bowls, and beers with humble plebs. We'll be in Nannup all weekend with the main event on Saturday. For more info, hit up the Western Australia Bitcoin Bush Bash's Twitter page at WABBB_21. That's at WABBB_21. And remember, it's Bitcoin, not Bitcoins. We can agree to disagree there. Western Australia Bitcoin Bush Bash people.
Well, I appreciate they giving me another soundboard clip.
Second and last shout out of the week. Greetings. If you're in the Columbia Gorge and want to kick off a new meetup, come to God damn it, Ayutlense, AYUTLENSE Family Mexican Restaurant Banquet Room in Bingen, Washington at 5 p.m. this Sunday, October 9th. RSVP at www.meetup.com/gorgebitcoin, GORGE Bitcoin, and join our matrix chat, #GorgeBitcoin, matrix.org. Cheers. So if you're Washington State, I'm assuming this is Washington State.
I love the growing meetups around the world. It's fantastic.
Yes.
Appreciate you guys.
And that one's this Sunday, October 9th. So if you're in the area looking for something to do on Sunday night, they'll be meeting at Ayutlense Family Mexican Restaurant Banquet Room. And with that being said, we forgot to read the Boostigrams from 2 weeks ago. So we have 8 Boostigrams to read. So we'll just get that out of the way as well before
let's fucking go.
We riff on our last topic. Shows. So this is the Boostigrams from RIP 219 from 2 weeks ago at Patar. Shout out to Patar for contributing week in and week out. 50,000 sats, no message, just a pure sats injection to the show. And number 2 at Eric99, another perennial booster, 50,000 sats. Stay humble and stack sats. At Carlos, who's up there a lot as well, 10,000 sats. Here's a vote for more morning rips. Get some coffee, gents. You can do this. Also to the freaks, please help users in Iran reconnect to Signal. In parentheses, search it. Thanks for another episode. And last but not least, from it may be late to get that message out. Is that what you're laughing at?
No, it was just because Carlos gave 10,000 sats to say he loves morning rips, but he's in the comments on YouTube right now, and he said, "Matt, I don't like the look in your eyes. You okay? Maybe morning rips are a bad idea."
From at Camper with a 4, C4 MPER, 9,999 sats. One more shill for Breyer for Iran and everywhere else. Also, when will Austin and Nashville have a reliable mesh network deployed? That's a good question. I don't know. Maybe we should make an effort to entice more mesh networks in the cities we live in. Oh. All right, now we're on the Boostigrams from RIP 220. Bonds and pipelines are blowing up. At Chad Farrow. Podcasting 2.0 value for value. OG contributor, 69,690 sats. Bear market surfer boosting. At Gunsun, 50,000 sats. Everyone over here lost their minds over the GBP crash, Great British Pound. Being a holder of Bitcoin turns you into a stoic, though, and I'm bullish on bear market building. Great show, Matt and Marty. At Eric99, stay humble and stack sats.
Great advice.
50,000 sats. At pod_resistor, 12,340 sats. 1, 2, 3, 4. Stay humble, stack sats, get boosted.
Great advice.
Shout out to all you freaks for boosting.
Yeah, appreciate you freaks. Thanks for the support.
If you're getting value, we would like to see Rabbit Hole. I mean, we were number one with some heavy hitters. We got No Agenda, the Podfather, and the Keeper. A lot of good shows. I was proud to see Rabbit Hole Recap number one. If you guys like this morning rip, no, it was a bit late, and you're getting value out of it, think about boosting. We love this shit. We'd eventually like to transition fully to value for value, and it has been picking up. So I wouldn't be surprised if within the next year or two we're able to do that. So keep it up, and hopefully we can get past the era of 6 to 10 minute ad reads in the beginning of the episode. But we do have to feed our families. All right. Last thing on the list that we have is Tornado Cash Dev denied bail. Assets are being auctioned. His assets?
Well, right now they're just auctioning off his car, but it seems like they're going to seize other assets and auction those off as well. But yeah, so this is relevant for a couple of reasons. First of all, they still have he's a developer of open source software. In America, code is free speech. Obviously, he's not in America; it's in the Netherlands. But I don't know if it's that far of a reach to see something like this happen in America. So you'd hate to see that. Still in jail. Seems like they haven't. I don't think they've even released any charges, like officially yet. It's very vague. There's like no real details. Like Ethereum influencers made a really big deal about it, but I feel like most people just have forgotten about it already and aren't talking about it. So I didn't put this on the list as a dig to the Ethereum community. I put this as on the list as a cautionary tale for Bitcoiners who are our primary audience. Like this is bad precedent. This is really, really, really bad to see. And one key aspect here is something that we've talked about in the past on the show, and I've talked about on Twitter, is this idea that just inherently being someone that uses quote unquote crypto or Bitcoin, they continuously use the argument of flight risk. And the argument is, oh, well, he's a privacy developer. He knows how to use these tools privately. There's no way we could know if he has funds that we're not aware of, so that he can use those funds because like in the traditional world, what they do is if they put you on bail, they seize and freeze all your shit, so that you can't use it to flee. But going forward, it seems like they're just using this as a far-reaching excuse to hold Bitcoiners and quote-unquote crypto people in jail without bail, because they can just say, "Oh, you're a flight risk." And his wife, I think it was his wife, or it was a family member who said he's Russian. Like if he goes back to Russia, he's going to get drafted into the war. and he has no incentive to go back to Russia for that reason. And they still said he was a flight risk, and they held him in.
The state hates you, freaks. They fucking hate you. Whether it's the Dutch state here in the United States, no matter where you are in the world. What we're seeing in Iran right now. They hate you. We need to separate money and state. It's actually it's been good to see that particular line getting out there in libertarian circles. I saw Dave Smith was on a show and articulating the importance of separating money and state. And then Dave Smith, Guy Swan, and Liberty Lockdown did an episode earlier this week. Guy had a really good rant on the pervasive nihilism that exists out there, because
Isn't it nihilism?
Nihilism, tomato. Now you made me lose my train of thought. Oh, yeah, guy had a good rant about the increase in nihilism. I'll go with your pronunciation. Is driven by the fact that when you break the money, everything else above that layer breaks down, because people, why go to work? Why try to save money when it's completely broken? And those at the top who have control of it and really don't contribute much to society benefit greatly from that control, while everybody else in the bottom tiers of the economic ladder are actually doing hard work to be productive, or just getting the shit end of the stick. It really doesn't create a good incentive structure to be a productive human. That's probably a big driver of the hedonistic, nihilistic tendencies we're seeing throughout our society globally today.
The other thing is that I didn't put on the list, but I saw come up this week was Larry Harmon, the guy who he was the founder of Dropit, which was like one of the first
in Ohio
Lightning that was custodial Lightning. He got arrested maybe a year ago or 2 years ago, maybe even no, I think it was 2 years ago. He got arrested because he was also operating a custodial Bitcoin mixer, where you send him Bitcoin and then he sends you someone else's Bitcoin. This is one of the reasons I don't like using the term mixing for CoinJoin, is because it's fundamentally different. Collaborative transactions are fundamentally different than a custodial mixer, where they're literally just sending you someone else's Bitcoin and taking custody. Because collaborative transactions, you never give up custody. It's just a Bitcoin send transaction with multiple parties taking privacy best practices into consideration. But anyway, they arrested him for the Helix mixer. They seized his funds. They seized Dropit's funds too. So anyone who was using the custodial Lightning wallet lost their funds as well, which is one of the reasons why people should be concerned about custodial Lightning wallets like Wallet of Satoshi and Blue Wallet. But it turns out that when they seized his funds, they seized a ledger that they didn't have the passphrase to. He didn't give them the passphrase, but so they had the actual hardware device, but in like a lockbox that they had quote unquote seized, but they didn't actually get access to the funds and then sweep the funds to a new address that they controlled. And it turns out that they're alleging now that his brother Gary, by the way, his parents named their kids Larry and Gary. His brother Gary swept the funds, like got the seed phrase from like a secondary backup and swept the funds while they were in possession of the U.S. government.
Based.
I mean, he's definitely going to get his brother in a lot more shit, but they have him arrested now. But that story came out, I think, on Bloomberg this week. Just interesting.
Very interesting.
Crypto closet. His parents are Barry and Mary.
Barry, Mary, Gary, and Larry.
But I think part of that was he got released on bail for a portion. Larry did. And so the government accused Larry of sweeping the funds. And then Larry fingered Gary and was like, Gary did it.
The state turning brother against brother.
Anyway,
look at what they're doing. Like Gary and Larry just trying to build. I mean, they did it the wrong way, but they're just trying to give people more privacy. And the state using KYC AML laws as a precursor to just impede on people's civil liberties and their privacy. And again, the state is the perpetrator of the most heinous crimes that humanity has ever seen, and yet we're beholden to their surveillance systems, and we're just literally they're destroying freedom right in front of our eyes. This narrative needs to build. We need to build like really in some cogent, lucid way, just highlight that the state does more harm to humanity than any individual or collective of individuals outside the state can perpetrate.
Anyway, Marty, freaks, I long day ahead, very much lack of sleep. Shall we wrap it on that note?
Let's wrap it on that note. State hates you. They're fucking criminals. FBI agent, send that up the ranks. Let them know we said it.
And I'll end it with, I love you, freaks. There's much hope. There's much optimism. Stay humble, stay sats.
Peace and love. Dicky.